Monitor developments at the KwaKhethomthandayo Royal Palace in Nongoma in the run-up to the planting of King Goodwill Zwelithini on Wednesday night. For more on this, let's now bring in our reporter Ayanda Mhlongo. Thank you so much, Ayanda, for joining us. You've been covering this story, of course, for a number of days. What's happening today?
A very good day to you, Nompu, good day to our viewers. Well, the past few days have certainly been busy with a number of people from government leaders, local government leaders, traditional leaders, members of the public, the subjects of His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini coming through to the family to pay their respects. So today, Nompu, has been a little bit more quiet than the past few days, or since the morning. There has been groups of people that have come through. We've seen various religious different denominations come through. We saw the Shembe church leaders also come through to pay their respects to the Zulu monarch. And there's been a few other smaller groups of people that have been coming through here today. So generally it has really been a lot more quiet. We know that, of course, the family behind the scenes are now working on those final preparations, as you were saying there, for the planting of King Goodwill Zwelithini, which is expected to take place on Wednesday around midnight, and then the memorial service will then be held on Thursday. Again, sentiments, a lot of people, Nampo, since the morning that have been coming through here today expressing their loss. I mean, the churches are saying that the king was always open to them. The Shembe church leaders, at times he would meet, he would always have an occasion where a special date would have been dedicated to the various church denominations. They would come through to Enyogeni Royal Palace, and throughout the day they would have a church service and get to interact with His Majesty. Many of the other church denominations coming through today saying, sharing the same sentiments, that they had a very strong relationship with His Majesty, and for them too, this is an extremely huge loss for the churches, not only here in KwaZulu-Natal but across South Africa. We do understand that possibly this afternoon, but that has not yet been confirmed, that there could be yet another press briefing from the royal family, but we have not yet been able to get more details on that, and one supposes that it's going to be more information in terms of what is going to happen over the next 2 days. Nompu?
Sure, you've been asked this 100 times already, but why do we talk about the planting of the king on Wednesday night as opposed to the burial of the king?
Well, that has been explained to us, Nompu, by the senior members of the royal family, that when we say the king, they do not, firstly in isiZulu, we don't say that the king has died. We say the king, inkosi ingonyama ikhotheme, which means the king has bowed. And in that sense, they say the king is not buried, but he is planted, because the king, in accordance to Zulu culture, does not die. His spirit will live on. And so for any other person would be regarded as dying, and so they would then be buried, but the king is planted because he would not have died. The Zulus take his spirit as though he will now become an angel, and this is what Mr. Blessed Gwala, who we spoke to yesterday, it's speaking to us in terms of terminology and the rituals, explaining the customs and the rituals, explained it to us this way, that the king becomes an angel, and in that sense you don't bury, you would not bury an angel, because an angel will live forever. So I think shortly, to sort of sum up and try to explain why the planting, that is what has been told to us.
And is it true that the king will be planted in a seating position, not lying down on his back as everybody else?
In terms of those details, there's certain parts of the rituals that have not yet or not been made public. All we do know that has also been confirmed by Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi as the traditional prime minister to the Zulu monarch and the nation. He only was able to say to us that it is going to be a private ceremony that is going to be held. The king will be planted next to other late kings in one of the other palaces not far from where we are, and that the ceremony is going to take place place at midnight, and that only men and the warriors, Amabutho, are going to be allowed to participate in that ceremony where there will be rituals. But in terms of how, whether or not the king will be seated, whether or not his body will be laid to the ground, those details they have not shared with us.
Okay, Ayanda, we're going to leave it there, but thank you very much for your inputs there. Ayanda Mhlongo reporting from KZN. We'll have more news, of course, for you at the top of the hour with my colleague Nzinga Kunta.